Sorry. Just have to quickly deal with something. Yeah. So sorry. Please hold on. I'll stop sharing right now. Hello, guys. Please try to mute your mic before you click on join. As you click on the link, try and mute your mic before you click on join. So yeah, I just had a little bit of challenge here. I have to stop sharing. All right, please Adekunle, confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right, thank you.
It's the same for everyone as well on the call.
Yeah, thank you. Just had a little bit of challenge from here. All right, we're still recording, right? All right. All right. We proceed now. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, from wherever you're joining us. And I want to welcome you once again to the Nigerian 365 community, where we learn, we grow, and we mentor. We are proud to actually upgrade ourselves on the Microsoft 365 technologies. And this is the Microsoft 365 deep dive session. It's a bi-weekly deep dive session that happens twice in a month. And for this year, 2026, the first half of the year, our deep dive sessions are going to be focused on Microsoft Intune. And today, we welcome you to another edition of the bi-weekly deep dive featuring Microsoft Intune device configuration profiles. And once again, we're going to be having Adekunle Sarumi as the speaker, taking us through device configuration profiles today, Saturday, 18th of April, 2026. Usually our deep dives occur twice in a month, and usually from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So I want to welcome everyone again for joining in on this session. You're welcome. All right, before I proceed, I would like to introduce myself briefly. I'm just someone who is interested or just excited about technology and how to make technology work for people. I love to empower the technological digital space of organizations and individuals by empowering their digital workspaces. I specialize in Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365, where I turn simple solutions into usable systems for individuals and organized organizations. Thank you very much once again for joining us. And we will be proceeding into the session by first introducing our speaker for today in the person of Adekunle Sarumi. And we have met him before on this deep dive session and on different occasions as well. Adekunle Sarumi, as we all know, is a technical consultant specializing in Microsoft 365 modern work and security with over 5 years of hands-on experience in delivering secure, scalable, and user-centric cloud solutions. He works extensively across Microsoft 365, Entra ID, Intune, Microsoft Defender, Microsoft Purview, and Teams. Microsoft Teams, to help organizations modernize collaboration while strengthening their security and compliance posture. He's a Microsoft certified trainer, MCT, and an active community mentor. Adekunle is passionate about developing talents and empowering professionals through practical, scenario-driven learning. His sessions focus on real-world implementation of modern work, security, identity governance, zero trust, and endpoint management. And he's also known as the zero trust bro. That's what some of us call him. So I want you all to join me in welcoming Adekunle Sarumi. I will be giving the mic to him in a bit, but before I do that, let me first of all appreciate all our mentees, all our let me just say colleagues who are joining us, who have always been joining us on these sessions. Thank you all for coming, for making our time to join in our sessions. You're all welcome once again. All right, before we go, I would like to share with us some of the housekeeping rules. This session will be recorded and we will be sharing the recording with every one of us on the YouTube channel, on our YouTube channel. Please, as you join the sessions, try to mute your microphone so that you don't cause some disruptions and distractions while the session is going on. And you can pen down your questions until the Q&A section, right? Follow us on our socials. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. Just search Nigeria M365 community. We have a WhatsApp platform, a WhatsApp community, but I'm just afraid our WhatsApp community is really full. You see the large influx of people. And then we also have a Discord channel where we have enough space to accommodate everyone. We'll be sharing these links as we proceed. So thank you very much, everyone, as I give the mic to Adekunle Sarumi. Thank you, Adekunle. You have the floor. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you so much, Aishat. Wasn't that a very, very beautiful introduction? Can we please appreciate Aishat, who is also one of our mentors in the Nigerian M365 space? You guys should watch out for our sessions coming very soon, so you understand the kind of person he is. All right. So thank you guys for joining again. As you know, we are back to our Microsoft Intune deep dive sessions. First off, I want to apologize for the weeks I didn't show up. As you know, it's supposed to be a bi-weekly program, but there were some weeks where there were some engagements that actually took the most of the time and we couldn't convene. But we're back and we're better. And we are also committing to the 2 weeks. So aside today, I expect that we gather again in our numbers in the next 2 weeks, except there's maybe I know I'm there or maybe I'm getting married, you can say. All right, so I would proceed. It's our week 4 in the Intune training. So before I go forward, let me just share my screen to be sure that we're on the same page. Okay, can you confirm if you can see my screen? Should be sharing already. Yeah, can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay, that's good. So as I said, it's the week 4 and we're supposed to have these device configuration profiles in Microsoft Intune. But because I know it's week 4 and I also want to recognize that there might be some people joining us for the first time today, I just want to do a quick, say, flashback or a throwback to what we've been to in the previous weeks. I'll just talk about what we did starting from the first week. So in our first week, we looked at introduction to Intune, how to set up the environment of Intune. We looked at MDM, what MDM means, meaning mobile device management. We also spoke about MAM, which means mobile application management. We looked at the kind of devices you could enroll in Intune, licensing required. We also was able to set up an Intune environment, and I think we added licensing and added users and groups into that. Then in the following week, which was week 2, we looked at Entra ID integration and device enrollment basics. So we spoke largely on what Entra ID join means, the difference between Entra ID join and Entra ID register. So I know it might be new to some of us here, but just to let us know that this class is an intermediate class. So I might be speaking some things you don't understand, but because it's going to be interactive towards the end, you can always ask questions. So if there's anything I say that you can't resonate with yet, I'm sure by the time we continue the interactions and then we have our discussions, because obviously I have some people on this call who even know it better than I am. So we can always discuss and come to a better understanding. So back to what I was saying, week 2, we spoke about Entra-ID integration, Azure AD join, MDM scope, corporate and personal devices, how to enroll those kind of devices. I think we also enrolled one device using the Access Worker School type of join, and then we confirmed the device join, though I think it took us a very long time that particular week. Then in week 3, we moved into Windows device provisioning and autopilot, which is one specific part of Intune I enjoy a lot. So we spoke about how autopilot eases the stress of IT admins by helping you to provision a number of systems automatically and not having to do it manually. We spoke about enrollment methods using autopilot, user-driven, self-deploying, and also we looked at the enrollment status page. And then in our lab, we were able to enroll one Hyper-V machine into Intune using the autopilot model. We saw how it got enrolled. I think that has been the longest class so far in this training. I hope it stays like that because I think we had to break the sessions into 2. If you go into YouTube, you'll find that we had about 2 videos for that particular weekend. So we spoke about Windows device provisioning and it was a very extensive one. If you want to see what we spoke about and everything we did, you can always go back to our YouTube channel to check that out. Then today, being the week 4 of this training, we are looking specifically into device configuration profiles. So now we assume that we have onboarded device into Intune. It doesn't end there. So what then do you want the device to do? It doesn't end at just enrolling your device into Intune. You want to be able to manage it. So how do you manage it? You manage it by creating profiles, configuration profiles, that include settings like Wi-Fi settings, VPN settings. If you're heavy on group policy object settings, those can also be interpreted. So all this is what we're going to talk about today when it comes to device configuration profiles in Microsoft Intune. So we're going to look at the core concepts, types of profiles, the platforms where you can create this type of configuration profiles. We're going to take a quick, a very short quiz, and then we're going to have a walkthrough. So let's proceed. I'm going to move to the next slide. But before I do, I think I want to make an amendment to the quiz. I noticed I haven't blurred out the answers yet. So just give me a minute. All right. Okay. All right, we can proceed. So the overview and the learning objectives, what you should learn out of today's class. First off, you should be able to define what a device configuration profile means. We also want to explain how it replaces traditional GPUs in a modern MDM environment. You know, we are pushing towards a cloud-first technology, which is why Microsoft Intune is like Microsoft's big time endpoint management into the Microsoft Intune to ensure that it replaces every other legacy or traditional device management that may be out there for Microsoft, as you would assume, SCCM and maybe group policy objects. Also, you'll be able to distinguish between the 3 main profile types: templates, settings catalog, security baselines, and want to see how you should know when to use each of them, because you can use them in different scenarios. You can also pair them up or just decide to drop one for the other, but we'll see all that because it's going to be a very, very extensive slide that we have to see. Then you're going to identify which configuration capabilities apply to each supported platform. As you know, we spoke about this in the first week. We have the support for platforms like Windows, iOS, iPadOS, Android, macOS, and just of recent Linux systems. So then we're going to walk through an end-to-end process of creating a Windows setting catalog, a Windows 10 settings catalog. So that's going to be in our walkthrough. As you already know, every of our classes, we go into the admin center and break and fix, basically. So we are going to break and we're going to fix as well. Then we want to understand how ADMX ingestion extends Intune policy coverage to third-party applications. If you're familiar with it, if not, you would understand better when we get to that. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about scope tags and assignment filters. I've seen cases where even admins kind of find it hard how to decide scope tags and assignment filters. So we'll talk about it. We'll probably maybe argue on it as well and see to decide the best one to choose in that case. So let's go. What is the device configuration profile? The device configuration profile is a collection of settings that Intune delivers to manage devices to enforce a desired state. So think of it as the cloud replacement for your Active Directory group policy objects. Instead of requiring a domain joined machine with a line of sight to a domain controller, Intune profiles are pushed over the internet via the MDM channel, reaching corporate laptops at home, mobile phones on cellular networks, and shared kiosk devices in retail environments alike. So basically, configuration profiles, if you ask me, I would say they're very much similar because the settings are very, very much similar, except some legacy settings very similar to the group object settings. So what you can achieve if you're an admin, say in an hybrid scenario, if you're in an hybrid estate or an on-premises estate, basically all you do or the kind of settings you use to safeguard your devices are only group policies. Yes, you'll be familiar with group policy objects, but device configuration profile is the substitution to that in the cloud side on Intune. And just as it states, Intune, we already know, I want to assume we know, is a cloud tool. So whatever policies, whatever settings you have created would also be delivered via the internet. So you don't have to rely on getting to be in the same line of network or line of sight with your domain controller. That means you don't have to be in the office to pick up policies. So if I need to push a setting to a user, I don't have to have them drive down to the office or move interstate to the office before they get policies. I don't have to rely on VPN as well. We'll see the difference as we move forward in the slide. So Intune's configuration profile is basically there to help you set up all these settings just to ensure that you're managing your devices to your desired state. Desired states can also be relative. What works for company A would not work for company B. So by the time you've been able to roll out, say, your organization policies, and then you can drill down to what you want your devices to be able to do or what you want your users to be able to do. You can set up these settings, deliver them via the cloud. So wherever they are, Lagos, Kafanchan, Abuja, wherever, they can always pick these settings over the internet. As expected, they will definitely be on the internet. So it's not a question of whether they are connected or not. They just have to be online, and then you can easily push settings to them. So what problem does device configuration profile solve? So before Intune, policy enforcement would depend entirely on an on-premises Active Directory and group policy. Remote workers bypassing the VPN will fall outside the policy scope entirely. If you are familiar with group policy objects, you know when you need to push a setting or you need to push an update, most times you would have to reach out to the end user or the customer, telling them that they should go on VPN, because some people don't like VPN, or some people just forget to turn on VPN because most of what they now do doesn't really depend on connecting to the domain controller because they have online services or they're in an hybrid state. But when you need to push policies in a case where you are heavily invested on on-premises Active Directory, you would want to require that users get on VPN. And if they are not on the VPN, if everybody picks policy, their devices become stale because they won't pick that policy. So imagine remote workers that maybe don't have VPN installed. I don't even want to imagine, because if you're in that kind of on-premises Active Directory, whatever device you are provisioning would have obviously been provisioned with VPN before it gets out to your end user or to the customer. So, but remote workers can actually bypass VPN, depending on how you've created it, maybe as a user policy or computer policy. They can bypass that and then actually not get the policies that you are pushing. So devices joined to Entra ID alone, native cloud devices, or hybrid Azure AD devices, which is hybrid AAD joined devices, needs a modern management channel So configuration profiles will provide the channel delivering the settings securely to any Intune enrolled device, regardless of physical location. This is 100% correct. I could be in Lagos here as an IT admin and push policies to, say, for users that are outside of the country, as long as they can connect to the internet. So I don't have to rely on VPN, basically, outside of your network or even out of your domain membership. This closes the gap for a distributed mobile workforce. So in cases where you have different offices and everyone needs to pick from the HQ, with Intune, you don't rely. Someone from a branch can even push a policy or push a profile, and then as long as you're pushing from Intune, you can even retract and affect devices in the HQ and other branches. So this helps to this I'll say decentralized, because you don't have to rely on the HQ most times. Anybody can go from anywhere and then push profiles to your devices. So what gets configured? What can you actually configure? Because we say this is a configuration profile. So what can you configure using this? So profiles can configure an enormous range of device behavior. For example, you can configure Wi-Fi and VPN connections are pushed automatically, so users never need to type credentials. So you know the hassle of having to type credentials. Sometimes some VPN solutions would not even tie down to your Azure AD SAM account name. You would have to probably put a different password or a different credential. So you can see how difficult that could be. But with Intune, you can all use that to push a configuration profile that automatically just pushes your credential when you need to sign in. You can block USB, Bluetooth ports. My work system currently has USB blocked. Even I, as an admin, would not remove it, though I could. But then there is a function called the auditing that can check and needs to put me in check. So you can block USB, you can block Bluetooth ports to prevent data exfiltration, which is very, very, very germane. Camera hardware can be disabled to meet compliance requirements. So there are organizations where cameras are not allowed. For example, we've seen some government organizations that would not want you to have camera enabled because they believe you could use that to scan some important documents. So most of their devices, the kind of profiles they run, or when they were on GPUs, have cameras disabled on their Windows devices. So that's also very, very concrete. Then password complexity, lock screen timeout for people that don't know how to lock their screen. Sometimes I see colleagues that don't remember the Windows L. I think that's something HR should probably put into the onboarding process for every new staff, how to make use of Windows L. But with Intune, you don't even have to worry about that. You could just set a timeout lock screen that automatically locks their device so that someone else doesn't send their resignation. I remember a funny scenario in one of my previous organizations where I worked, where we'll joke like this, and then if you slack, we could help you send out your resignation if you don't lock your device. But that was then. Yeah. You can also set some encryption enforcement, which would be applied uniformly across the fleet. Email clients can be pre-configured, pointing to Exchange Online. This is one very sweet setting, whereby once you sign into the exchange, it just automatically picks your domain and then allows you to sign in. It requires 0 user setup, and then every setting is auditable, just like I said. So for every setting you've created, you can always track what's going on with it, and the reports. I think that's toward the end of our slide. You see the reporting, breach reporting from the admin center as well. So how does this work? Let's move quickly. So when a profile is created in Intune and assigned to an Entra ID group, Intune stores the desired configuration in its cloud service. The next time an enrolled device checks in, every 8 hours by default, or on demand. So that's something I want to speak to. We have a feature known as the Intune check-in, Intune device check-in. It means that Intune checks in for new policies, new settings you've made every 8 hours. You know, if you're familiar with group policies, when you push a new profile or a new setting, you have to run a particular command that forces it, GPU updates, and then maybe have the user restart. With Intune, it does an automatic check-in within 8 hours, and then you can also quickly sync settings. So we'll see that. I think I can also show you that with one of the devices we enrolled the last time. You can sync settings if you've pushed to that device and everything immediately, so you don't have to wait. So the MDM agent downloads the profile payload and applies it. Downloads the profile payload and applies it. So on Windows, most settings are written into the registry or processed by Windows MDM CSPs, which is the configuration service provider. The device then reports its compliance state back to Intune, giving admins visibility into whether each setting was successfully applied, pending, or in conflict. So for every setting you push, say for example the Wi-Fi setting or the USB setting, Intune can let you know if the device actually picked it up, if it was successfully applied, or it's errored out, or it's pending. Maybe the device is not online, because if your device is not online, it won't pick up. So your device can be in a pending state. The policy or the profile can be in a pending state, or it could also be in conflict. So I would say there is no enterprise I've worked in where I have not seen a policy that is in conflict, and that's because you have too many hands. You have everyone. This person is creating this kind of profile. Sometimes policies would intersect, and then when you have the same setting doing the same thing, it causes a conflict, and that would also affect how the setting works. So next, let's see. Why not just use group policy? This is an argument you might want to argue, or maybe during discussion, if you are still very strong on GPO, I would like to take up this argument with you. I don't mind. Why not just use group policy as against Intune's configuration profile? So let's compare and contrast. First, let's look at the dependency. GPO relies heavily on Active Directory domain membership, and you need to have a line of sight. You must have configured LDAP or Kerberos authentications before that your device can pick policies. But on the Intune side, all you require is an internet connectivity, 2G, 3G, 4G connectivity, as long as you can connect to the Microsoft device management endpoints. There are some settings. So if you run the IP config, or there's a command you can run to check for the right URLs you should be connecting to. You can test it. If your device can reach this endpoint, then you can always pick every Intune policy. So, or every Intune profile or policy. I'm so sorry I would interchange profiles or policy, because there is another part to configuration, which is the compliance policies. So most times I kind of interchange them, but I'm sure you already get what I'm saying. So for every of these profiles, you can easily just push them on the internet, and then I don't have to rely on a domain controller before you pick my policies. So say for example, you are I'm working in the HQ, and then I have someone in Abuja that needs to quickly get an application assigned to their device. I don't have to wait for them to connect to VPN. I could easily provision or configure the application on Intune, push it to the guy in Abuja, sync his device, maybe a quick restart, and then he has the application ready for use over the internet. So you see how I don't have to wait for a domain controller. Also, for the remote workers or workers that work from home, VPN is required for policy to apply. I think we already spoke about this, and this is a gap in enforcement. If the VPN is disconnected or split tunneled, if you have different tunnels, or you've created a different a point to site server or something, or basically you are not tunneling rightly on the VPN side, it could actually cause some gaps in the enforcement when your remote workers or your work from home workers are trying to access these profiles or policies. But on the Intune side, policies apply over the internet. So whether cellular policies, even the VPN policies itself, you just have to push it over the internet, and then it gets delivered to the device. So for device types, this is also one very major point why I say Intune scores the higher points over even SCCM and group policy. It's only Windows domain joined devices. You can't do GPU to Mac OS. If you can, let me know. But you can't do GPU to Mac OS's iOS or even Android devices. Not supported, and I don't think it's going to be supported yet, because all investments are actually moving to Intune, where you can actually manage Windows, Mac OS, iOS, iPadOS, Android from a single console. So that rich reporting is what I think even encourages admins, Intune admins, on how you can explore, you can break and fix, because everything you are doing is from one console. You don't have to move from a different admin center to another one to track what's going on with your macOS devices or your Android devices. Then also for the refresh cycle, group policy refreshes every 90 minutes, maybe plus or minus 30 minutes. And then at logon, you have to restart your device. But with Intune, it checks in every 8 hours. So I could set a policy now and say, okay, I want it to come up after the close of business. So I could set it up by maybe 8, and then by 4, it will check in and then pick up that policy. Or I can just trigger an immediate sync from the Intune console, as I mentioned earlier, which is also very immediate as long as the device is online. Then reporting on the group policy, there is no built-in per device compliance reports. You have to rely on GP results. GP results are GP results 8 to get it in the HTML format. But on Intune, you have a full per device per setting compliance reporting. So for each device, you can actually see the setting that applies to it, what it did, if it's successful, if it's not, and everything. You can grab that from just one page. You don't even need an extra tooling. The only places where I've seen administrators use extra tooling is maybe you want to do some extra reporting. You can plug in Intune into a Power BI workspace and then use that to just get nice graphics or cards to be able to show to for your business use case anyways. Then lastly, we have BYOD for organizations that have bring your own device policies or personal devices. GPO requires that your device is domain joined. So if your device is not joined to my domain, you can't even get anything. So it's not practical for personal devices. What if I want to access my work email on, say, a personal device? Maybe I'm on vacation, but there's something that needs your time urgently. Just maybe something small. So Intune allows you to work with corporate and people their enrollment. You will see that. And I think we also spoke about it during our enrollment week. We saw how you can enroll personal devices, what you can do to personal devices. You don't need to have full graphs of everything on the personal device. You can just push specific applications and manage them as admin. And then you can scope your settings and protect your corporate data on your personal device. So the takeaway from this, for any organization with remote workers, BYOD on the Windows device, Intune configuration profiles are clear. And I think that even needs no argument. So let's quickly move forward. The 3 profile types, an overview. So we're talking about configuration profiles, and then we have types of these profiles in Intune. So first off, we have the templates. The next we have settings catalog, and then we also have security baselines. I wish I could see, okay, I think I want to bring up the Teams meeting to my other screen. Okay, because I know someone might be looking at this and trying to argue that no, this is not correct. It's more than, you might want to say it's more than 3, or it's not up to 3. Yes, in a way, I'll say you're right. And then you might also be wrong. Because if you go into Intune now, it's 4:33 p.m. West African time. If you go into configuration profiles, you'll find 3 types of settings there. And the thing is, you won't find security baselines. You can keep me correct, or you can wait till when we get to the walkthrough session. Yes, and that's because you currently see something like templates, settings catalog. I think you'd see properties catalog. Yes, you'd see properties catalog. So that's something new that's just been integrated. As you know, Intune is a tool that gets updates most frequently. So these tools are frequently updated, and then you find new features as you go on. So what you would see as properties catalog is a profile that allows you to get more information on device. So if I want to get into deeper digging on a group of devices, maybe I want to get their BIOS states, the health of the BIOS, drivers and everything, I could run a properties catalog. So that one is not basically pushing settings. It's just more like a reporting of the devices. So that's why it's not something I prepared for in this slide, because these ones we are looking at are actually settings you can create and get real-time reporting on them. So we'll go back to the slide and we'll talk about templates, we'll talk about settings catalog and security baselines. So first off, templates are pre-built wizard-driven profile types that surface the most common settings for a given scenario. Intune ships with over 40 built-in templates covering device restrictions, email, Wi-Fi, VPN, trusted certificates, SEP, and PKCS. If you are big on PKIs, kiosk configuration, and endpoint protection. Each template exposes a curated set of options relevant to that scenario, which makes the UI simpler and less overwhelming for admins who are new to Intune. So most times, as admins, or if you're on the call or you're just getting started with Intune, you would want to start with templates because even with the name, you understand it's already a built-in setting. It's something that's been pre-configured for you. Just have to turn on and use it. So if you are getting started fresh and new to your environment, I would say you can start off with templates. We'd also see it, so it doesn't look like I'm just talking about it, but you see why it's basically for someone that's just starting in June. You don't want to go into so much customizations. You can start with templates. They are very, very common configurations and settings. We'll see it, but then, like I said, it's for, I won't say beginners, but I'll say someone that doesn't want to involve so much into customizations yet. Then the next type of profile would include settings catalog. So this is the one that looks like what you would see in your GPUs. So all the settings. I remember one time where we had to do GPU migrations for an organization that was moving from on-prem to cloud, and they wanted to analyze most of their GPUs to see the settings in Intune. There is a GPU analyzer tool in Intune that allows you to import and export of GPU, and then it lets you know the settings that you can easily find in Intune. If we have time, we'll look at it as well in the Intune portal. If you don't know it, we'll see it in the Intune portal. So that portal in the settings, sorry, you would see the GPUs that can be created, the ones that are in the settings catalog, the ones that are in the templates, or maybe the ones that are in the security baseline. It lets you know the ones you can create. It also tells you that this one you can't create, maybe because it's a legacy setting, or it's just a setting that Microsoft has discontinued and is only just available on GPU. So those kind of settings, you would obviously most times find a substitution for it. If you don't, you can find a third party for it if you still rely on it. But basically, most of what you rely on today in GPUs can easily be configured in Intune. You just have to analyze your GPU and actually set them up. So the settings catalog is the future of Intune configuration. It provides a searchable library of thousands of individual settings across all supported platforms, far exceeding what templates expose. So settings are documented with their MDM parts and supported versions. So if I want to create a settings catalog, I don't have to start thinking of the exact string of the setting. I could just type in, say, Bluetooth USB camera. It shows you all the type of settings that includes that Bluetooth, and then you can decide the one you are trying to build. So it's best when building new deployments, you want to have precise control. That means now you want to customize it and ensure that you're actually controlling what is actually happening on the device, or you are replacing your legacy GPUs with MDM equivalents. Then lastly is the security baselines. So security baselines are opinionated, pre-configured profiles bundles that implements Microsoft's recommended security add-in settings. So one thing I've noticed with baselines, because I've worked with it for some time, is that it's just an it's just a projection from Microsoft themselves. So basically, what that means is Microsoft has some settings that I want to believe they use internally, and then they wanted to use it as well. So you see settings like Edge baseline settings, Windows application settings. You also have settings for some other ones I can't remember now, but I'm sure when we get into the walkthrough, you'll see it. So they are just baselines. Basically, Microsoft says you can do this for Defender for endpoints. You can set this up for your Microsoft Edge. You can set this up for your M365 apps, and then you set it up. Basically, that's it. They are baseline settings. But these are the three types of profiles that you have in the configuration profiles in Intune. So when is the best time to use security baselines? If you are rapidly adding in a fleet to industry standard settings that are trying to meet compliance requirements like ISO, yes, I've seen this happen for ISO 27001. You can quickly set up these defender baselines. You don't have to do some customizations. It actually speaks to every of the points that you need to cover in the ISO 27001, or reducing the time to secure for new device deployments. Okay, so the type of profile templates that we have for network and connectivity, we have Wi-Fi profiles that you can create. This delivers the SSID authentication type to your devices without user interaction. We have VPN settings, we spoke about that, email settings. It just configures the client for them on the Windows and connects it to Exchange Online, even without your sign-in credentials and any certificates. We have security and you have security and restrictions type of profile, device restrictions. This one we spoke about, blocking camera, USB, Bluetooth airdrop, app install. All this you can do as part of the device restriction template of the configuration profile. We have endpoint protection. You can quickly configure Windows Defender, firewall rules, BitLocker encryption, smart screen, and the Windows admin. Then identity protection, you can enforce Windows Hello. So for organizations that require some level of passwordless authentication, you can also force Windows Hello for business policies, pen complexity, and biometric requirements. Then next for certificates and PKI. So if you deploy certificates or you build your own certificates, you can also create some trusted certificate templates, SEP certificate templates, and then PKIs certificate templates as well. All this can be done under the certificates and PKIs templates in Intune. And lastly, we have the kiosks, shared multi-user devices, custom URIs. So for kiosk devices, you can see templates that you can run for kiosks. We spoke about kiosks in one of our sessions where it speaks to devices that are used in retail centers. For example, when you go to a fast food joint or something, you have one device and then you can see that different people can come in and input and sign into it. Those are examples of kiosk devices. We also have shared multi-user devices where multiple users have a different profiles on the device and you can cache their credentials and all. All these templates are available that you can also set up from Intune profile templates catalog. Then next we have the settings catalog. So this is a deep dive into the settings. The previous one was templates, right? The next one is the settings catalog. So why is the settings catalog the future of Intune configuration? As said, the settings catalog was introduced in 2021 to address a fundamental limitation of templates, which only surfaces a subset of available settings. But the settings catalog solves this by exposing every available MDM CSV setting. We would see it because sometimes you might even get lost while creating a settings catalog and then forget what you've clicked on. When Microsoft adds a new OS feature or a CSV part, it appears in the catalog automatically without requiring you to create it. And then as of 2024, the settings catalog contains over 5,000 settings across Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android. So tell me, what is that particular setting you have in GPU that you can't recreate on Intune? I really want to know, except it's very, very old setting. Everything you need is actually already on the Intune side, it's on the brighter side. Then search-driven discovery, instead of navigating and searching, I spoke about this, you can just search camera, USB, BitLocker, anything, and then it shows you all the setting that has it in it, and then you can enable it. We'll see it. I would want us to test all this in the walkthrough. Then we have policy conflict detection. So with the settings catalog, when two profiles assign conflicting values to the same setting on the same device, Intune flags a conflict state for that setting in the device compliance report. And I said this earlier. So in a case where the same device, the same setting from different profiles or policies, it flags it and you see it in the report. With settings catalog, because all settings are registered by their canonical CSV path, Intune can detect these conflicts precisely, surfacing the exact setting name, the two conflicting values, and the names of both profiles responsible. This is a significant improvement over the less granular conflict detection available with legacy templates. So let me explain this. With templates, most times when you create two conflicting profiles, Intune would not give you so much information into what is actually conflicting. It would only tell you the profiles are conflicting. You would have to find out, okay, what particular settings in them. And just to explain, profiles contain settings. So a profile is not just one setting, it's a collection of settings in it. That's why it's called a profile. So, but with settings catalog, for every profile you create in settings catalog and say the two profiles settings catalog now actually conflict, you can actually go in and it will show you that, okay, in the setting catalog profile for say a desktop background setting, it will show you on this side you have a different background. Maybe you've put a different image in one setting or in one profile, and then the other profile you also have another image. Obviously that would conflict. Even if it's the same image, also it would also conflict, and then it lets you know that okay, this is what is wrong, and you can quickly, as the admin, go and fix it up by maybe retiring one or taking out one setting or just choosing the best profile to actually push that particular setting. So that's one way the set catalog actually writes over the template. Then cross-platform single profile. So a single settings catalog profile can be scoped to a specific platform, Windows 10 and later, and targets all OS edition with settings that automatically adapt to what edition supports. So this reduces the number of profiles. So in one profile, you can have as much settings as you want. Maybe we would even test it. We'll just create settings. We'll keep creating settings as much as we can, and then you see how you can just have one profile for your Windows 10 device. But that's actually not very, very acceptable because you would obviously want to have separate settings depending on the device types and your user personnel as well. So next, let's move. I want us to move quickly through the slide. Then let's look at the last one, which is the security baselines. So what's the security baseline? It's a pre-configured Intune profile that bundles Microsoft recommended security settings. I told you guys, it's just something from Microsoft. They just want you to have a taste of what they do in MSFT themselves. So it's vetted by Microsoft. It's a default by them. Everything is there, showing you what can be easily turned on. So in my opinion, it's very, very similar to templates, but it's just that this one is from Microsoft themselves. It's not just something that they've just put in there for you to use. It's what I think they use. We believe this. So we have the MDM security baseline, Defender for Endpoint baseline, Edge baseline, M365 apps baseline, and also Windows 365 security baseline. So for each of these, it shows you what you can do. For example, the Defender for Endpoint baseline, you can set specific settings to maximize protection when MD is deployed as the EDR solution. You can configure ASR, attack surface reduction rules, cloud deliver protection levels, and tamper protection, and the likes. Let's move. So what are the supported platforms and configuration capabilities? So for Windows 10 and 11, we have over 5,000 settings available in the settings catalog. You can import ADMX for third-party apps. So you know how with group policy, you can even configure applications depending on the kind of features you want in it, say for Google Chrome, Adobe, and the likes. With ADMX as well, you can import it for your third-party applications and set what you want. If there's time, we'll probably try to import one. We'll download one of these ADMX, maybe for Google, and see how you can import that using Intune and push it to devices. Then next, we have security baselines, MDM, Defender, Edge. All these are configured or configurable on Windows 10 and 11, PowerShell scripts and remediation, Windows update rings and feature updates. This is one thing Intune admins don't play with. If you're an Intune admin in a cloud-first technology, you would be very, very familiar with running Windows update rings and feature updates, how you can push it to your devices. The next, we have the iOS and iPadOS. So the supported platform, supported capabilities, you have device restrictions, you can touch airdrop, you can mess with it by blocking or allowing it. iCloud, if you want to allow personal iCloud on company devices. You can also monitor the App Store, Wi-Fi VPN settings. You can set up app VPN for containerization on iOS and iPadOS. You also have managed app configuration, passcode and Face ID. You can configure if you want to enable passcode or you want to allow your users to use Face ID on a company iOS or iPadOS. All these are supported on this particular platform. Very quickly, we'd also look at the Android Enterprise. So for Android, you have different modes. You can set up Android as a fully managed device. So maybe the device owns the Android. You want to fully manage it from the beginning to the end. You can enroll it as a fully managed device. You can also set up a work profile. So if it's my Android phone, my own Android phone, you can set up, the organization can set up a work profile on it whereby you distinguish the work applications from a particular applications. For users here or for people on this call, if you have this set up on maybe your Android, you find out that some people have two outlooks on their device. You might have two teams because one is for your personal use, one is for your organizational use. So it contains them in one place as a work profile. You also have dedicated device modes, work profile separation for BYOD privacy, OEM config. We have specific settings for Samsung Knox, Honeywell Zebra. Also, always on VPN enforcement. This can be set up on Android, as well as device password and encryption policy. All this can also be done on your Android platforms. Then lastly, for macOS, it allows you to set up certain catalog for login, notification accessibility, custom playlist profile, firewalls if you are trying to configure encryption for the firewalls on the macOS, gatekeeper, Xprotect, as well as software updates management. So you can configure all this in Intune using the configuration profiles. Then next, let's look at the ADMX imports, how you can extend it into your third-party applications. So what is ADMX? Some of us might be familiar. They are administrative templates, most of which you can also get from your group policy objects. So they are the formats used by group policy to describe configurable settings for Windows and third-party applications. So when an application vendor like Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Zoom, or Adobe wants their product to be configurable via group policy, they publish an HTMX file that defines the available settings. So we'll check which one of these ones have. I know they all have. We'll find one and try to import that. So how can you import an ADMX file? Step one, you download the ADMX. It's available over the net. Just look for the particular ADMX file, download it, import it into Intune. Would see the page in devices, Windows configuration profile. You can import it. Then you can use it in the settings catalog. So if you are still targeting one device or you are still trying to target one particular profile, you can also use it in the settings catalog, and then you monitor and update it. Then I think lastly, yes, I want to talk about scope tags and assignment filters. As I said, this is one thing that in my discussions with other professionals in the Intune space, it could be very, very daunting. As simple as it may seem, sometimes you might run into errors or you might not be scoping as much as you think. So I would like to explain what the scope tags and the assignment filters do. They are very different. Scope tags control which an Intune administrators can view, create, and edit specific profiles, not which devices receive them. So scope tags are basically targeted at users, or let me say targeted at admins, not devices now. Though you can also scope devices to the scope tags, but it's basically there as a role-based access control for Intune admins. So if you don't know, scope tags are your role-based access control outback for Intune admins. So it controls which Intune admin administrator can view, create, and edit. So let's look at it. It's how it works basically. An Intune administrator is assigned a role. So we have default rules, and you can also create custom rules, say a policy and profile manager rule, and then a scope tag, example, EMEA IT. So what it means is if that Intune admin, someone is unmuted. All right. So what it means is if that Intune admin goes into Intune, the only profiles they would see and can manage would be devices that are tagged with EMEA IT. So let me explain. As an Intune admin, if I sign into the Intune admin center, I would see all devices, right? I would see everything. I would see all the configuration profiles. I'll see everything. But if I'm an Intune admin that has only been scoped to EMEA IT, maybe I only administer these devices or these users here or these policies that have this. Whenever I log into Intune, the only kind of devices, the only kind of policies, the only kind of profiles, the only kind of objects I would see would be objects that are tagged with EMEA IT. If they are not tagged, I won't see it because my scope tag is limited to only EMEA IT. So profiles without that scope tag becomes invisible to them, even though they exist. Sometimes you'll find that this administrator will say, I can see this device, I can't see it. Yes, in very well architected enterprises, not so many people have the Intune admin as a role. The Intune admin, what's it called now? Admin center role. Not everybody has it as a role. What they do is set up scope tags for Intunes, Intune administrators. And then also because there's a setting in Intune that allows unlicensed admin to sign in. That setting is one-time setting. Once you turn it on, it's turned on, such that I don't even need to have Intune license to administer Intune. That's what it means basically. So that kind of thing, I could create an account for you and say, okay, use this account for Intune administration, and then you would only be managing users in Lagos. I'll create a Lagos scope tag and then go to my all devices. Say maybe I have 1,000 devices. I'll look at devices that are in the Lagos office and then give them the scope tag of Lagos, Lagos, Lagos. I'll go to profiles and say, okay, this profile should only affect Lagos people, or I only want this guy that's in Lagos to be able to manage this profile. I tag it as Lagos. I look at the applications. Okay, this Google Chrome, I want the guy in Lagos to be managing the updates and configuration of the Google Chrome. I tag it as Lagos scope tag. When this guy that has the Lagos scope tag admin signs into Intune, the only devices, the only profile, the only thing we'll see would be Lagos. It won't see Abuja office devices. It won't see Abuja office profiles. It won't see Abuja office policies. So basically, it's like I said, it's just your role-based access control for Intune admin, just to ensure that um, you're not giving total control to people that don't need it. It's more like reducing the principle of least privilege, actually, ensuring that they are only privileged to devices they should be able to manage. So another example is if the Asia Pacific help desk team should not be able to accidentally delete a configuration profile maintained by the US security team. So in large enterprises, you see where different departments are fighting and saying someone went in and deleted this and this one deleted that one. So to resolve it, you can easily set up scope tags. The general Intune admin can architect a very, very good scope tag process to ensure that the APAC guys only see APAC things, the US guys only see US policies, objects, and everything. So that helps everybody to work, and it is fully audited. So if the US guy is trying to go over his reach, he can't even do that, except he maybe now gets the Intune admin general role by doing that. So that's one way of using the scope tags. And you see how you can create scope tags. I would also show us, if there's time, how we can create that scope tag. Then next, let's move to the assignment filter, the one that is always being confused as well. So assignment filter is a dynamic device targeting. So you see how the two breaks out. Scope tags for Intune admins, users. Assignment filters, dynamic device targeting, devices. So they are not the same. Assignment filters allows you to refine which devices within an assigned group receive a profile evaluated dynamically at check-in time using device properties. Filters do not replace Azure AD groups, Entra AD groups. They layer on top of them. The result is far more granular targeting without the overhead of creating and maintaining dozens of static device groups. So the supported filter properties may be Windows. So if you want to set a assignment filter, when you create a configuration profile, we'll see the setting. You'll see how you can assign a scope if you have a scope tag. You see how you can assign it to a group as well. So most times, because when you create profiles, you want to test it out. So you have a pilot group. Even if you don't have a pilot group, maybe you're just creating a profile for some set of the organization. You can also do that and push to that particular set. But with assignment filters, when you now push your profile to a group. So for example, I have a group and I say HR group. I want to create a profile and push it to the HR group. Let's say a Wi-Fi profile and push it to HR group, or a block camp profile and I want to push it to HR group. Once I push to the HR group, I can now set an assignment filter and say, yes, I know I'm pushing to the HR group, but I want you to look out for some particular type of devices in the HR group. So it means that I don't have to create another group and say, okay, because I want you to only target Windows that have 22H2 build or Dell devices or Surface Pro devices. I will now go and create another group and say, okay, Surface Pro devices or Dell devices. I don't need to do that. With assignment filters, once I target the general group, which is the HR group, I can set the filter and say, but in that group, only push to devices that are Dell or Lenovo, or push to devices that are Surface, or push to devices that have a specific category in Intune, say maybe corporate devices or personal devices, or push to devices that have this build. So you see how you can actually use this to layer on top of your assignments group. I don't have to create so many assignment groups. So in that way, instead of creating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 assignment groups, I only have one assignment group, which is going to stand as the main one, and then set up a filter and target the exact device I want to push that profile to. So you see, filters are also evaluated during the check-in and assignment time. So if I create a filter now in a profile, I can run a sync and then it gets to the device, or wait for the check-in time in 8 hours and allow it to get to the time. I don't have to wait. It doesn't work immediately at when it is assigned on that device. So next, and I think this is the last slide before we go into the Intune Admin Center, which is the monitoring. So once you understand your profile states, there are 5 states of a profile. When you push a profile, it's either succeeded, it means all the settings are applied, or it's failed, maybe one or more settings could not be applied. As I told you, a profile is a combination of many settings. So even if it's funny how I explain. If you have 10 settings in a profile and 9 is applied, that one that is not applied makes your profile to fail. You don't score, you don't get a pass mark. Even if it's just one setting in the profile that fails, it will tell you that it's failed. Or if it's something that could be admissible, or maybe it's not applicable, which is the next one. Maybe a set is not applicable to that particular device. Maybe it's a and then you're pushing it to an home device, it won't apply. So that's not applicable. And then it should also fail. But then you also have a state called the error state. Maybe the system level is preventing it. And then we have the conflict states, which we already know, where 2 or more profiles are actually conflicting on the same setting in that profile. So you can drill into this device from the profile device settings and view it. So you don't have to go into the configuration profile itself. You can go into the device, check all the configuration acting on it, and find the conflicts or find the errors or find the succeeded ones and the failed ones in that device itself. Then how do you resolve conflict between devices? I said you go into the device, you check for the profile you want to keep. The resolution requires editing one of the profiles or remove the conflicting setting and align it with the other profile. All this is best adjudged by the Intune admin. You decide which one you want to use, because it doesn't mean the setting is not working. It just means that the setting is conflicting. So that's something you would want to actually judge based on your settings or based on your organizational policies, the one you will drop and the one you continue to use. And then using the Intune troubleshooting pane. This is one thing I find out that most Intune admins don't use. We like to troubleshoot ourselves, but with the Intune troubleshooting pane, you just have to put in the device. It lets you know what's going on. It gives you everything on the device. You can check what's off, what's on, and everything. You also have a diagnostic tool you can run on PowerShell to get a log of the settings, profile, compliance, endpoints, everything setting you've pushed on your device. It generates an HTML report for you, and you can see what's going on your device. So we'll just quickly take a quick check to be sure that you guys have been following me, because I think I've spoken for close to an hour, and then I want us to go very quickly into the admin center. So who can tell me what's a device configuration profile in Microsoft Intune? And what problem does it solve? In maybe just one word. Anyone? You probably want to raise your hand. Or you can unmute. If you don't want to say it now, we can take it after the walkthrough. In case you don't want to see anything yet. Anyone? Or you can look at the questions. If there's anyone you think you want to explain, because I want to be sure that we're following. Can you name and describe 2 profile types in Intune and the difference between them and when you choose them? Or you want to explain the difference between scope tags and assignment filters? I think that one should even be very, very easy to explain right now. Is there anyone? Okay. If you don't want to unmute, you could probably just drop your answers in the chat. Okay, I think someone just went off mute. Michael? Yes.
Okay. So simply, configuration profile is a collection of settings that can be applied to a group of devices.
Okay.
And the organizational problem solved is to push down desired states configurations to devices. Desired states in the sense that the way you want particular ways you want systems to behave, configure that settings and push to collection of systems.
Yeah, that's very correct. So the device configuration profile is in Intune as a policy object for enrolled devices. It solves the problem of enforcing consistent settings such as Wi-Fi and the likes. So that's very, very, very correct. Thank you so much, Michael. Is there anyone that wants to try the other one? Anybody? Just 2 more minutes before we go into the admin center. Anyone? Are we shy? Okay, maybe I'll just proceed and then we can come back to it. Okay, Michael still wants to go. Okay, yeah, Michael, you can.
Yes, the have the templates and the settings catalog.
Mhm.
Templates, as you explained, according to the text of the slide, are probably going to be phased out soon, or if not already phased out. While the settings catalog contains more settings that is searchable, and based on different platforms, different settings can be searched to apply to different device platforms. While for templates, they expose a limited amount of settings that can be applied to devices, which of course is probably why Microsoft is trying to phase them out in favor of settings catalog. Thank you.
That's very, very correct. Thank you so much, Michael. I think I should owe you a gift. It seems like you have this slide open on your system. Basically, thank you for that feedback. That's very correct. So we've seen the difference between templates and the security baselines as well as the settings catalog. Most times, of recent, most of us work with, as an admin, you probably do so much setup on the settings catalog as you would over templates. So that's very correct. Thank you so much, Michael. The last one, I don't know. I don't think anyone wants to talk. Maybe Michael, you want to try to go 3/3? I think I see
Okay,
someone trying to get off mute. Okay.
so for scope tags, like you said, scope tags applies to administrators. It
Mhm.
applies to what administrators can do and cannot do, what devices they can manage and cannot manage. While assignment filters applies to what devices these settings apply to in an organization.
That's very correct. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for listening. Shows that you've actually been following the class. Thank you very, very much. So that's the difference between the scope tags, as we've said. Scope tags, who manages the profile. Filters, which device gets the profile. So you can use that to quickly remember when you're trying to run into a confusion on the both of them. So very quickly, I would be sharing my screen now to the Exchange Admin Center. Did I say Exchange? The Intune Admin Center. So I think I'm currently signed in. Yes, and this is the account we've been using over time for this training. So most of what you'd see would be configured. So this is the admin center. To get into Intune, just as a walkthrough, I could either access this from here and click on Intune, or I could type in intune.microsoft.com. Yeah, and it takes me directly to the same page, which is this. All right, so we're going to look at the admin center. This is the Intune admin center. You'd see on the start page, we currently have two information, updating firewall configuration. So there are new Intune network service endpoints. If you're an admin, I would advise you probably go through this. If you have some special configurations when it comes to the kind of firewall you have configured or the kind of ports you have opened, you want to check the kind of settings you have. I would advise you peruse this and check this particular documentation. The next one is also the multi-admin approval. So this multi-admin approval is one new setting that's come into play. It's a one-time setting. Once you turn it on, you can't turn it off. At the moment, because with Microsoft, there could be a way to turn it off in the future. But currently, once you turn this feature off, you can't turn it on. Once you turn it on, sorry, you can't turn it off. And what it does basically is it allows for you to set up some level of two authentication. I don't want to call it two-factor authentication, but maybe two-way authentication over policy profile, anything or deletions. For example, if I create a profile and I'm trying to push, or I'm creating a setting and I want to push it to devices, it will require that another admin approves of it. So in a case where you have some level of organization, or maybe you have different people that needs to approve certain, this can be set up the organization whereby maybe the first level into admin sets it up, and then the second level has to accept it before it goes into production. So this is also one thing I would like you to read if you work with Intune on a daily, or if you're starting to get familiar with Intune, you want to know about multi-admin approval. What I see in probably the next few quarters is that this will become enforced for all tenants. And it's because there has been a recent breach that was reported where a particular bad actor was able to get into the Intune admin and deleted all the devices in a particular tenant. It was reported, I think, in one of I think it was US or UK. This happened. So I think this is why this is going to become more enforced. So let's look out for this. I'm sure this is something that will be enforced very, very soon. So that's what you also want to look out for. So let's go to why we came here before I digressed into talking about the home page. We are talking about configuration profile. So when you click on devices, we look at configuration profile. This is configuration. So once I click on configuration, I see different policies that could be profiles. I'm sorry, I said policies because you can either use policies or profiles. So we have policies, you can create policy, a new policy or an import policy. This is one profile we created as a setting catalog when we were doing the autopilot setup we did in our last class. So that's why you have it listed here. But most of what we'll do now will be created as part of this class. So we quickly, I also want to show you the imports ADMX. So like I said, if there's time, we'll try to download one and try to import it. But let's look at policies. But before we go into policies, I also want to digress a bit. If you look to the left here, we have scope tags and we have defaults. And then I spoke about scope tags. So I think maybe what I want to do now is maybe just create a scope tag, though we can test it, but I just want to show you how that can be created before we move into the configuration profiles itself. So if you go to tenant administration, this is like your settings up for your admin in the Intune admin center. So we have adapt remote help, tunnel, cloud, PKIs, connectors, da. What we are looking at is roles. So when you go into roles, we have Intune roles. So if you remember, I spoke about policy and profile manager. This is the particular built-in role. We have school administrator, endpoints, help desk. So what it means is these guys will be able to only administer help desk roles. So let's look into it. What does it really say? It means that the properties, they can read admin tags. If you look at most of what they can do, because they are help desks, they don't have opportunity to create. They can only read most of the settings, compliance policies, you can only read it. Configuration profiles, you can only read it and view reports and everything, because obviously they are not expected to create policies or create profiles. So these are rules. Then let's go back to scope tags. So for scope tags, this is default. So it means that everything you create is default. But if you want to go the route of we explained in the slide, like the EMEA, the APAC, or the Lagos office, you can create a scope tag. I want to say Lagos admins or London. Okay, let's use Lagos. Description for administration. If you're an admin on this call, tell me you always create. How many of you always type in descriptions? Don't lie. You won't be judged. But I found out that most of us don't like typing descriptions. But it's always good, actually. I think you should imbibe it just so that whoever comes next can actually read whatever setting you have. So I'm for administration of Lagos office. Next, so you can set an assignment. I can add a group, and maybe before now, I should have created a Lagos group because that is where all my Lagos devices will be. Or you can just say maybe autopilot devices, select. I'm not creating this, I hope you guys know. Then you review it. So basically what it means is once this is created, if I say Lagos admin as a scope tag and I assign the scope tag to a role, maybe to the help desk and I assign it to the help desk officer and say you should only manage Lagos admin, they would only be able to manage devices in the autopilot devices. So they won't see anything outside of autopilot. They won't see policies that don't have autopilot and the likes. So that's things for scope tags. But I don't want to really dwell into it because I think in this training, we'll see how we can actually configure scope tags and test them. So let's go back to our configuration profile. So we want to look at this. Want to create a profile. So you can import a policy. If you have maybe a profile you've exported from a different tenant or something, you can actually import it. It's in preview. I've not tested this yet, but you can actually import a policy. But we are not doing that. We want to create a new policy. And this new policy we want to create, we can see the platforms you can actually create. So you can say Android device policy, or Android device administrator, AOSP, Android enterprise, iOS, iPadOS, Linux, macOS, Windows 8.1 and later, or Windows 10 and later. But for the sake of this training, we're going to be configuring Windows 10 and later. So let's look at the profile types. So this was where I put out a disclaimer, so it doesn't look like I already disclaimed it before we started that when you come into this space, you would actually find 3, and I spoke about the properties catalog. So let's look at it very quickly, what it does. So the properties catalog, if you try to create one, say for London this time, and I say the kind of configuration policies or the settings you can now create in it. So because I told you that it's basically just for reporting on the hardware features of your devices, so you can do CPU, you can select everything on CPU. You want to get like a view of the processor ID or the BIOS. You want to see the manufacturer, the serial number, everything. If it's the battery, you want to see the cycle count. You want to push it to that device. Disk drive, logical drive, memory info, the network adapter. You want to see what's going on there. You can click all this. Once I select it, it lists out everything. So it tells me it's refreshing every 24 hours to pick up what's ready to be reported on the device. So this is scope tags. If I already have scope tag, I can assign a scope tag and say, okay, only Lagos office. And then I can set assignment to the Lagos group and create it. But we are not creating that because what we want to create is actually a different type of profile or policy. So now let's look at the next one. Before we go to settings catalog, let's look at templates. So these are templates, and you see why I said they are basically template because they've already been created. So you just select the one you want. So for this one, let's look at, for templates now, I want to create, say, a device restriction template. So I click on device restriction, click on create. Once I click on create, I give it a name. I say USB restriction. I click on next. Then the configuration settings. So you see everything. App Store gives you everything. App Store mobile, auto updates apps, use private store. You can configure either block or not. Cellular connectivity, VPN over the cellular network. I can block or not. Bluetooth block or not. Cloud storage. I can block. No Microsoft account. Printer settings, control panel settings. If you want to block it, the app, you can block it generally from here. Also, we have all other settings like display, general, settings like screen capture. You want to block camera, you want to block OneDrive sync, removable storage, geolocation, reset, USB connection. You want to block lock screen experience. So you want to set a picture lock screen. Mind you, whatever picture you're using here has to be accessible over the internet. So most times it could be on like an Azure storage or SharePoint site. You can actually use that as a lock screen that you push to all your devices and then set it. Configurable screen time outside, you can also configure messaging, Microsoft Edge, network proxy. So you see all these are templates that are already created for you to just select and get on with. Personalization is the desktop background. So you know the desktop background is different from the lock screen background. So you can set this as well. Some level of privacy, projections, reporting and telemetry. You want to share your data. Search, you can also block search. Start menu, you can choose a different layout for your start menu. You can decide if you want the apps to be pinned and switching and the likes. Defender antivirus as well. You can set real-time monitoring or network inspection, scan test, and the likes. So you see all that, and then the power settings. You can choose when to turn on energy saver, power button, what you want it to do, either to hibernate or sleep or to shut it down at once. You can also set this when it is plugged in. So once I do this and I've configured a few things, I can click on next. In the assignment, I can configure and say I want to add groups, or I can push to all users, or I can push to all devices. If I decide to push to groups, let me select one group, which is the autopilot device group. We already have devices in there. So we have, okay, it's just one device. Yes, because it was just one device we pushed with the autopilot. So I pushed this. Then for the assignment filter, let me just take this time to talk about that as well. So this is where you can set up the assignment filter. I say, okay, autopilot device, this is the group I want, but I want to set up a filter. This is the assignment filter. So you decide either to apply a filter or to not apply a filter, include filter devices or exclude filter devices. So if I say include filtered, then I can search what I want to include. But filters actually have to be created because I didn't say that. I don't have any yet. Filters have to be created, and that's something we have to create. So let's see if we have time, we'll create a filter, but I can decide to either include it or exclude it. So let's say, for example, we spoke about Dell devices or HP devices. I can decide to say in the autopilot group, I only want you to include Dell devices, or I want you to exclude Dell devices, depending on the device option that I have created. So once that is done, I click on it, and then I set it up to be done. So if I click on next and I apply this, I do the review and everything, what it means is that yes, these policies are applied to autopilot devices, but only to devices that have allowed that are Dell or HP, or devices that are not Dell or HP, if you understand from that filter settings. So you see how you can actually get on with a device configuration profile using templates. But now we want to do a settings catalog kind of setup. So let's do settings catalog. We go back, Windows 10 and later. Profile type is settings catalog. So it says you're starting from the scratch. I told you it's highly customizable, so we want to create this. So let's see how it looks. I want to just call it device restrictions profile. Restricts company on devices for personal use. All right, so I click on next. So now we have the settings catalog, and then you can add your setting. So this is the setting picker. So if you see, these are all settings, and then in each of these, we have settings that total up to 5,000. So say, for example, under the administrative templates, control panel settings, add or remove program, these are the settings I can set. If you are used to GPU, it should actually ring some bell when you click on this particular policies. You see how you can actually set each of them. If it's a display profile on the control panel, you can either disable the display control panel or hide the settings tab, as the case may be. But what we want to do now is we are going to look at some of these settings. And also, if you think there's one setting we can actually set up, just let me know in the chat so we can set it if there's something. Okay, I see a quick question because I'm just coming back to Teams and I think I want to respond, and I think it's from Michael. Can one selectively push Intune settings particular devices? Okay, I don't quite get that question. So I don't know if you want to maybe unmute to ask the question, or you want to wait till the end of the demo to actually ask the question, Michael.
Yes, I think the question has partly been answered. What I was trying to ask is if you configure some particular settings for a profile. Now you don't want to push the settings in that profile to every system. You want to push it to a selected systems in the organization. Like you don't want to push it to every device, but just some selected ones, or maybe even one particular system is what you want to push it to. For example, you have a setting that you want to apply to everybody, but not to one particular guy in the office. You get.
All right. So basically, what you've said, and I think we already saw it. I'll just take us there very quickly. Let me just select one setting. So we see it. We'll come back. We'll come back to what we are doing, scope tag. So what you've said, we looked at it in the assignment of the templates. So you can either scope to all groups or all users. Sorry, this way you means you're adding all users or you add all devices. But in the case you've mentioned, you can actually selectively push it to a particular group. So Intune is heavy on group assignments over user assignment. So you can't assign to maybe one user. You can't assign to user accounts, basically. What you can do is assign to a group that contains that account. So even in a case where it's just one user you want to assign to, you have to create a group. And this time, as part of our mentorship class, we've spoken about the types of groups and everything. Intune, basically, you have to work with security groups because these are the groups that you can actually assign roles and permissions or settings to. So you would have to create a security group and add that user. If it's one user or one device, add it to that group. If you see our group presently, because this tenant is actually very fresh, so it's just one device that's there. This autopilot device is one device, and you can see it reads it and lets you know it's just one device. So you can't push to just a device. You can't select a device in the assignment, but you can select a group that contains that one device. So what I would advise is if you want to test, because part of what we advise is when you are playing around with profiles, you want to test it out first on the pilot level. So you can create a group, just a pilot group, and just put one or two devices there and push it to it. You don't have to push to everybody at the first time you create a group because you can actually lock out or create profiles that can actually lock out your users and disrupts their productivity while they are working. So I think that should actually answer your question on the assignments, Michael.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
All right. And I think Ezekiel already answered your question or the second one, which is for syncing. Yes, you should be able to do that before the set time. I spoke about syncing. Let me duplicate this because I don't want to leave this setting. So for syncing, if you have a device, I think we currently have two devices. One was enrolled using Access Worker School, yeah, and one was enrolled using Intune. So for this particular one, if I push a policy to this device now, I can actually sync it. So this sync button, I don't have to wait for 8 hours. Once I click on sync, I sync it and then it syncs the device. And also on the device itself, you can do a sync. So I think I want to start up our virtual machine to show that to you. On the device itself, you can go into Access Worker School and actually sync the device and then let it pick up the policy. That's one thing you can also do from the device side. So you don't have to wait 8 hours because definitely you might be in cases where you have some serious deployments you need to do and then you can't wait 8 hours. So you can just create it and then push it. Because if you look at this now, let's go to groups from here and look at that group. In the group, you'll find that the device in it is the same one we just saw, autopilot. Members. Yeah, you can see it's the same device in that group. So that's the device we can push policies to. So once I run a sync there, everything syncs, every policy I will create, because I think that's even the policy the device will be testing with right now. It's a VM. I'm trying to start it up. I think it's running. Let me connect to it and bring it up. Okay. Okay, so I see a question from EE. Exclude I discuss.
Sorry.
I don't quite understand that question.
Let me interrupt you, please.
Okay. Yeah,
Hello?
go ahead, Michael. Yeah, I can hear you.
So I want to ask for command line prompts for group policy in Windows. That's the GP updates /force that
Mhm.
tutors are used to always run into and force to update policies on the system. Does it also now work for Intune pushed policies?
Okay, so so the substitute for GP update force is this sync we just spoke up. So I don't need to do GP updates, except I still have group policies. If I create a profile in Intune, just as we are trying to create this one, if I create a profile and I need it assigned immediately to this device, all I have to do, like I said, is go into the device itself, where it is listed in Intune, because obviously your device has to be enrolled first, right? Once it's enrolled, I click on it and I click on sync. Let me even show you how that works. So once I click on sync now, it says Intune will attempt to check in.
I think I get you. I think I get
Yeah.
you. I just want to know if running that GP update also applies to Intune sync now, or it doesn't.
It doesn't for Intune sync. You have to run GP update. You don't need it. Yeah, that's why Microsoft is heavy on Intune. You don't need to start running command prompts. You just have to do a sync from the portal or from the device. So this is the one you would do from the device. Let's go into this is the device. This is that device. We go to settings. Okay, and then you go into account. In account, I go to access worker school. From the access worker school, I can see it's connected to Zero Trust Browser Enter ID. This is the account I manage. I can, once I click on info here, these are the settings that are currently being pushed to the device. So these are the policies: BitLocker, Defender, Security. These are part of what we have in that configuration profile that I said was created for autopilots. Because when we set autopilot, we also push some profiles to it that I could pick right from startup on device. So it already picks this one. But if I create a new policy and I want to pick it, I can come here and also click on sync. So this is from the user side. You know, what I showed you earlier is from the admin side, but you can also reach out to the user to do this, or maybe via a remote session. You can click on this sync and then it syncs it, and the policies are listed, or you can also find them right here on the device. So I don't know why it's saying this time though. I think the time zone I created for this virtual machine is in the UK time, or sorry, the US time. I just want to show you what happens after this is done. It could take some time because it's obviously also checking in internet and everything. It's trying to check in that device in the Intune side. But basically, these are the two ways you can quickly bring the settings. Instead of doing GP updates, you can do sync on the device or sync from Intune Admin Center. So I don't know if that suffices.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. So for EE, your question exclude I discussed. Can you maybe unmute to speak to this question? Because I don't think I understand what you mean by exclude. Or you could maybe just rephrase the question in the chat if you don't want to speak. But we'll just go back to our profile while that is running. So on our profile, let's go back. I said we're going to create this. So we have some settings here already, but because we already have BitLocker, so I'm going to remove this category. I don't want to create what has already been created. So let's see, what kind of settings can we create real quick that we can track? So let's try disabling control panel. I think that one we can even see it very quickly. So we'll look for, but because I'm quite lazy, I just want to type control panel. So let it search. So it's going to search the templates that have control panel in it and what I intend to do. So if I select this one, it loads it out and say, okay, always open all control panel or prohibit access to control panel. Okay, let's say I want to prohibit access. What else can we run? I think there's an edge on this system. Okay, so let's find one settings on edge we can set up. So let's set up edge settings now. Let's look for startup pages. Okay, let's try edge. Now there's a Microsoft Edge setting where you can set up what you want to see on startup. Yes, so startup and new homepage. So let's set a homepage for our Microsoft Edge and tell you where to go. Also for the user, I think let's even do user, but let's just set up the two. Also, we're going to set up a new tab page. All right, I'm looking for something we can track again. Which other setting could have done desktop? I don't have a, okay, let's do one more, which is the password. It's not this one. Not this one. Not this one. Should be in device lock. Device password enabled. All right. Okay, so now we've selected our settings. Now let's go configure them. So I'll close this and I'll say for control panel, I want to prohibit access to control panel and PC settings. So I've enabled this. Device password enabled. Let's enable this. Want to do simple password and only ask for PIN. Expiration, that's the 90 days. That's to 10. Max device password. So if I forget my password, max inactivity time, device lock, let's do 5 minutes. Minimum password length, yeah, let's do 4. Then for our new tab page, or let's do the home page first. For the home page, I want to configure the home page. What can I configure it to? Can I see options in the chat? Anything you think I can configure the home page to outside of Google or the Microsoft Bing? Can you give me any URL? Anyone? Can drop it in the chat for the home page and for the new tab. I'm waiting. Anybody? Or I could even use our okay, I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the Nigerian M365 YouTube page. Let me get that. Just a minute. You guys are not giving me a page to use, so I get to use what I want to use. All right. So the home page for user is configured now to our M365. This is also, all right, I'll just configure everything to this. Okay, then we go next. So for scope tags, like I said, we won't touch on scope tags because, like I said, it's going to be in one of our classes. So let's just leave this, but we understand what it means. Assignments, yes, we are pushing to autopilot. Our filters, I'll create that, and then maybe when we're talking about scope tags, we would also interface with assignment filters and test that as well. So I'm pushing to this. Also, so I want to believe maybe EE's question is about the exclude. So what it means is, what the excluded group means is, if I come here and include maybe say all users or all devices, I can exclude some groups. Perfect example, in an organization where you have maybe HR group, finance group, IT group, and everything. But I create a policy for maybe device lock. I want to lock devices within 5 minutes or 1 minute. I now push it to all users. Or to be more destructive, I want to push it to all devices. I just push it to one of those. When I push it, but then because I'm in the IT and I still want my IT guys to enjoy their freedom, maybe some sort of freedom, I can decide to exclude the IT group. So if I click on add group here and I add a group is excluded, it means that that group would not get whatever configuration policy you set or whatever configuration setting you've done here. So according to Microsoft's start of authority or source of truth, exclusion overrides inclusion. So if you create something or you create an object and you include and exclude, exclusion overrides it. So what it means basically is my device is in all devices, right? But because I've been excluded from a particular group as part of that group, I won't get the setting because I'm already excluded. So even if you like add all devices that I use, as long as those my devices are also part of the excluded group, I won't get it. So exclusion would always override inclusion for every setting, every setup, every policy, whatever you do in the Microsoft 365 space. Always know that exclusion overrides it. The same thing also extends to conditional access. If you are familiar, most times when you create a conditional access policy, you are able to exclude some users also, or most times you have to even exclude the breakgrass accounts when you create some maybe MFA conditional access policies, just so that you don't get locked out. Means that if you include everyone but exclude them, even if everyone has to do MFA, maybe by authenticator app, phone, SMS, whichever one you've set up, those guys you've excluded won't have to do it. So that's the essence of the excluded group option or the excluded user option in wherever portal you find yourself in the M365 configurations. So that's for the excluded. I think that should have been an answer to EE's question. But if you think it's not, you can maybe unmute or speak to it. All right, let's go back to our assignment. So yes, I have autopilot devices. I have assignments. I click on next. So we've seen it is our device restriction profile. We want to test password, Microsoft Edge, and let's see, create. So now I can create this policy. So now policy has been created, right? And it has been pushed. Let's refresh. So upon refresh, we should find that configuration sitting here as a profile, which is perfect for us. So this is our device configuration profile. So also to note, once you create a profile, you can also still modify it because you have the access to go and edit and everything. And once you edit it, the profile would also check in again on the device, either after 8 hours or if you're able to sync the device. And then speaking to the states we mentioned, we have the succeeded error conflict not available in progress. This will be populated as soon as that device checks in. So because we don't have to wait for the 8-hour mark, we can see the device it is assigned to. Can we see the status? Nothing yet, because it has not been checked into that device. If we go to that device, this is the device in Intune, right? This is, let me even refresh the page so we get a better understanding. This is the device. Click on desktop. This is our device. If I click on the device configuration, you see it's only still seeing the autopilot profile. It has not picked up the other one yet. And these are the settings in the autopilot profile: require cloud protection, and device encryption. So it shows you succeeded. The other one also is succeeded. These are autopilot profiles. But now we want to see our setting play out. So what can we do? We can sync our device, right? So I'll just click on sync from here. Click on yes. So the sync would be initiated. You can also check the device action. This is supposed to load up, though sometimes might fail, but we can check this. Let's do a quick refresh. Okay, so that could be running in the background. Let's also go to the device itself. Let's see the last sync. The last sync here was because that sync we ran has not fully propagated. This is 9:35, right? And it's already 9:46 here. So we can also run a sync here. Though we could wait for that one, but let's just also run a sync here because of our time on the score. And let's see that it's actually, so once it picks it up, like I said, it should show that policy here. So you can actually grasp what's going on. So let's wait for this sync. So while we're waiting, if you have questions, I could take your questions because I know we have less than 15 minutes on this call. All right, Michael, yes, can ask a question.
Okay, so when you were talking about assigning a policy to
Yep.
either a group or to either to all devices or to all users.
Yes.
Now, when I got confused there. When you apply a policy, let's say
Yeah.
when you're checking the settings for a policy, and maybe
Okay.
most of those settings are device specific, hardware specific settings. And
Yes.
then when you want to assign, you now assign a group to a group that contains users, or maybe you assign
Okay.
it to all users. How
Okay.
does that work? Because according to coming from a group policy objects background, device
Yes.
settings should be device settings would apply to devices, while user-centric settings would apply to user logins and all that. So in the case
Yeah.
of Intune, how does it work?
Yes.
Would
So
there
you
be
are
just work,
sorry. Sorry.
smoothly?
Okay. Sorry that I broke your question, but I think, was there something we're going to say?
No, I'm done. I'm done with the question.
Okay, so it's actually the same logic as you would expect from GPU. When it creates a user policy, you should push to a user group. When it creates a device policy, you should push to also a device, or you should enforce it on a device OU, as the case may be. It also plays out here. So for particular settings that are, you would see that for the edge settings now, we have the one that speaks to device, we have the one that speaks to user. It means that on a device, we could have more than one user. As you saw on this device now, is currently signed in as Yakubu Manage. I could also allow other users to sign in. If I push a device policy to it, they won't pick it up. The user would only pick it on his user profile while it's working. So that policy is not, if you go into the registry key, it's not on the device, it's on the local user. It's not on the machine itself. The policy, the CSP will be created on the user, on the user, not or on the current user, sorry, not on the local machine. So the same thing applies to when you create a device policy too. So when you create a device policy, as long as the person signed into that device is licensed with Intune, it's the CSP is created, the registry is registered on the keys registered, sorry, on the local machine itself. So I think it's the same. It's not even a thought. It's actually the same logic from the GPU. Same way device policies, device OU, user policies, user OU. Same thing here. If you create a user policy, you push it to a user, what's it called? A user group. And if you create a device policy, push it to a device group. And also to note, in the creation, when you create in the exclusion and the inclusion, as I mentioned, if your included group is a device group, your excluded group also has to be a device group. If your included group is a user group, your excluded group also has to be a user group. You can't have an included group that is devices and then your excluded group is a user. It won't work. You won't be able to move forward with that policy. So that is something we also want to note. So let's see. I think this guy has synced. Let's see if it has picked up the policy yet. I can't see it on the device yet. Okay. It's picked it up, but it's showing an error. So let's check what is the error. Mind you, we are on the device, right? I didn't have to go to the configuration profile. I'm checking directly from the device configuration. Let's see our device restriction profile. Okay. Okay, I think I know why it's in error, because it's still in its propagation stage. It's not fully set up yet. And it's not, it's supposed to give you like, okay, when we looked at our, let me see. Okay, there's supposed to be something like in progress, right? But then sometimes Intune can be in tuning, if you get what I mean. So this is in error, but I don't think it's actually in error. It's still evaluating it as much. So let's even check on the device. This one has already synced in 46 minutes of that time. It's not showing the setting yet, but let's see. What were we targeting? I think we targeted control panel. So let's see if we can access control panel. If we are still able to, it means that it's not fully set up yet. So let's open control panel. All right, so I think this one is already, it says this operation has been canceled due to restriction in effect on this computer. Please contact your system administrator, which is very nice. Our next setting is the password. The password one would have to log out and log in. But before then, all right, just on a side note, I think I really love this wallpaper on this VM. Okay, so let's look at the next one, which is the Microsoft Edge, right? We pushed a setting, a restriction to Microsoft Edge, saying that the new tab and the home page should be our channel. So let's see. Okay, it's new. Let's see if this plays out. Ta-da. Next. What's going on? It's asking me to authenticate. Okay, because I'm just signing into the Edge. No, I told you guys we just enrolled it. Nothing has been done on that device. I'm not seeing anything on my authenticator app. Oh. Okay, it's coming
Sorry,
now.
do you have to sign into
17.
does the users have to sign into the Edge before the policy can take effect on Edge of the
Yes,
user?
yes. Yeah, Edge has to be managed. So that's why it's a device management. The application also has to be managed. So it has to have like, you have to be signed into it before that you can
So
pick
that
that
means if the
policy.
user decides not to sign into Edge and just continue using it like that, the policy won't take effect for them.
We have a device policy.
Okay.
We have a device policy. In case where the user doesn't sign in, we have a device policy. So most times when you even create this kind of Edge profiles, most times when I create it as both a user and a device policy. So even if you escape one, you can't escape the other one, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Makes sense.
All right. So let's see our new tab. It's not bringing us to our page or what's going on here. But Yakubu is already synced. Okay. Welcome to Microsoft Edge. What else? Okay. So maybe it's still evaluating the Edge setting. Let's open a new tab and see. Okay. It looks like it's taking us to YouTube. Accept all. You don't have a choice. All right. So I think it's already in place. It's brought us directly to our YouTube page. All right, so let me just even restart Edge and let's see, since we've done the initial setup and all. I thought I gave this thing 4 GB of RAM. Why is it being slow? Okay, our home page, voila, takes us directly to our YouTube page. So this is our videos and everything. If you're on this call, on this meeting and you've not subscribed, you suspect. I think we are looking out for you. So please do us a favor, just go subscribe, like. I think I should even use Yakubu money to like, but this is like an Outlook account. I'll do the same, and I want you guys to do the same as well. So this means our policy list, our profile. If I open a new tab, so it takes me directly there. All right, so this is good. The next one is supposed to be the setting. I think I have to log out. This is a VM. If I do sign out. Let's see if it allows me to sign back in. All right. But because I'm even using my cloud password, this may not actually be the right setting to do. But I think you understand, if I have to set up a password, I could easily set up using the restriction proof was created. So I think this should have been able to drive home the settings I was trying to explain. So now let's see if the reporting is available on the profile itself. So this is the profile itself, says the error. So let's view the reports. You know, I told you, even if you have 100 settings and one fails, it tells you that everything fails. So let's see. It's supposed to list out all the settings. You see? Can you just see? Can't you just say I scored how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is about 13, 14. If I score 13 over 14, are you not even supposed to give me like a pass mark? But no, you have to pass everything. So alphanumeric device password required, it failed that. And I think it's just because of, okay, let me see. Temporarily not available in 2007. Okay, this is new for me. And I think I'll check this out actually to be sure why I failed this. But I think you understand why this policy is like this. So our policy is in effect, but because it just failed one guy, just one particular setting, it throws everything off balance and tells you it fails, but without regarding the other ones. So that's how it works. Now let's go into the device itself and also see the policy or the profile assigned to it. So if you click on, did I go to Windows 365? All right, let's go back to Windows. This is our device. Okay, let's look at device configuration. Yeah, so it would also error out, as I mentioned. So it tells you the same thing because of that particular setting, and that's it. So I hope I've been able to explain the configuration can set up and everything. I don't know if you have any questions or any contributions. I would like to hear from you now. We can take questions down for the next few minutes before we come to a close. So I see your question. How do we get the recording? How do you get access to recording? Okay, so that link, let me put it in the chat, and then C, let me take you back to our PM. Okay, use Windows Hello. Okay, so this is even our setup now, asking me to set up a pin. So that is our policy. Now I signed out. Let me see if I can set up. So it says alphanumeric, right? Let me see. What can I use? I'm looking for something cliche. Okay, let's just say new. Or let me use 1, 2, 3. I want to use a pin 1, 2, 3. You know, we said it should allow 4. So it tells me no, you have to set a pin that is at least 4 character long. So I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the only reason why this would go right is because if you come back here, I'm just trying to explain this better. If you come back here, I don't like that Intune would allow me to go back to get to a configuration profile. That should be worked on. Yes, so in this setting, in our device lock, we allowed simple password. If we didn't allow simple password, whatever I was trying to do here by putting 1, 2, 3, 4 would not work. But it should go through now if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, as you can see. I'm able to set up 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's set this up. All set. I can sign in with PIN now. Yeah, but I don't want to sign in with PIN yet. So let's see. I think I wanted to show access to recording. So I dropped the chat. I think we already have the recording. Okay, I think iChat already added it. So please just refer to the link in the chat for our channel. But if you want to see what it looks like, this is what our channel looks like presently. Contains all the meetups and everything. videos from past mentorship programs as well as deep dives. So we have different playlists. Just take your time. You can see everything that's there, 2023, 2024. All sessions are available that we've had so far in this group on the channel. So that's that. Thank you guys. I think I've been able to, what's the word now, convince you and not confuse you with configuration profiles. All right. So if there are questions, I'll take them now, but I think I can hand over to Aishat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adekunle. It's nice to have you here. Everyone, let us all appreciate him by giving him any emoji of our choice. Either your clapping emoji, your love emoji, your thumbs up. You can all use that to appreciate Adekunle for always coming here to share with us from his wealth of knowledge and experience. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank everyone for joining today and for also engaging with this session. All right, I want to give special appreciation to the Nigeria M365 community leaders who have given us this platform and who has given us come up with this idea to also help us impact on the community as well. Thank you very much to our leaders, starting from our founder, Madam Olajumoke Toriola, who has always been there to support us. Also, we appreciate the other leaders for their support, for their time, their energy, and for making all the resources that we need available into making all our programs possible. Right, like I said earlier, this is a bi-weekly program, and the next time we'll be having this, we're supposed to have this like last weekend, right? So I think the next time we're going to be having this would be probably I think we usually have them like second and fourth week of every month. So we will be updating you. Keep an eye out. Keep your heads up. You will be getting notifications. You'll be getting updates from us as regards all other community programs that will be coming up. Oh yes, this session is recorded and we'll be making it available on our YouTube channel. But if you're on our WhatsApp community, on Discord, wherever you are, you will be sure to get the link. But in the event that you are not on any of these platforms, just check our YouTube. If you check the YouTube channel, you will see how our videos have been grouped. You see deep dives, you see the ones for the mentorship classes. So please go there, explore for anything that you might want to learn or explore concerning Microsoft 365. They are all there on our YouTube channel. It's a channel packed with a whole lot of resources. You would actually not regret going there. And please, as you go there, as you should follow us, engage with our content, share them, like them. Also, yeah, just engage with us, share with your friends who might want to learn a thing or two from us. So on this note, we say thank you again, and till we come your way again, have a lovely weekend. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Adekunle.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay.